Hello and welcome again to Yap versus Yap, where we debate a movie, in this case moments after we're seeing it. I say Yap versus Yap, but we're once again, I'm Christopher Lloyd. I'm joined by Omar Brito and our friend Mitch Ringenberg from Midwest Film Journal. We thank you very much for joining us. And we have just seen Candyman, the new Jordan Peele produced and co-written remake-ish sequel.
Almost a sequel. Yeah, more of a direct sequel, definitely.
Yeah, to the horror film from 1992, which is seminal in a lot of people's eyes. Not mine. I'm actually old enough, I remember it coming out at the time. Wasn't terribly impressed by it. Can't say I was terribly impressed by this one either. My remark was I wasn't scared by the first one. I wasn't scared by this one either. So here we are, just outside the Castleton Cinema, in this case a little bit further outside than normal. Yes, we actually got booted by the security guard, so we're across the street. So, Mitch, why don't we start with you? What are your memories of the first one, feelings about it, and how do you feel about this one?
Sure. I'm actually a huge fan of the original Candyman. It probably ranks among my favorite horror movies of the 90s. I do think it is mostly so memorable, though, for like its stylistic flourishes. It is so austere with the Philip Glass score and the cinematography and Tony Todd's performance, and like kind of there's something very operatic about it that I just think has stuck with me since I was a kid. And there are a lot of kind of racial overtones to the movie that I don't think were explored as much as they could have been for the time period. Coming from a filmmaker like Bernard Rose, who maybe wasn't as interested in that at the time.
Yeah.
And I will say that is one thing I think this Candyman, definitely a perspective it definitely brings this time around, which I really appreciated. I mean, this movie, though, I almost think is so thematically stuffed. This movie is trying to be like a satire on the commodification of art.
Gentrification.
Gentrification, police brutality, racial injustice. There is so much going on in this movie, which is very admirable for how ambitious it is. But at 90 minutes, I almost think those things take
a long time.
Yeah, those things almost take the front seat.
Yeah.
And there are just some things like our main character, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen, who he kind of has a similar manic descent to the Helen in the first film.
Yeah.
That just feels very rushed. Like, I just almost did not ever get a grasp on who his character was.
Yeah.
And the mythology of Candyman, they really expand upon it in some cool ways, but also some ways that just, to me, felt pretty incoherent, especially in the third act. I enjoyed it. It is beautifully shot.
Yeah.
It's really well acted. There's some really visual, inventive set pieces. But I do think it's just a little messy.
Yeah.
But overall, I did enjoy it, and I would rather see a horror movie that I think that is overly ambitious than lazy.
Yeah. So. By the way, next time we'll definitely not shoot this right next to the road. Omar, what's your take?
Well, I'm a huge fan of the source material, the Clive Barker short novel, and I really do love the original, the 92 film.
Yeah.
But like was said earlier, I think the movie tries to pack a lot in 90 minutes, and I wasn't bored. I really enjoyed it. It could have been longer.
Yeah.
But I think they just tried to get everything in there at once. But it's beautifully shot, wonderfully acted. I do enjoy the expansion. I called it the Candyman cinematic universe.
They really are trying to kind of like bring in, and I didn't know like the history. I forgot, and I don't think I saw the sequels from the 90s. How much of that was from the sequels, and how much of that was just from the first movie? Or they just ignored ignored the sequels.
Yeah, I think they ignored the sequels.
Yeah. I found the racial injustice stuff interesting. I almost wanted more of it. I almost kind of wanted to like don't just dabble in that. You need to just jump right into it, or not do this sort of like patina of we're gonna have this message in here. There's obviously more of it than there was in the first movie, which, frankly, let's face it, was a bunch of white guys making movies set in a black community.
Yeah.
In Cabrini Green in Chicago, which I, used to live in Chicago. I remember the neighborhood as it once was back around that time. Yeah, it was one of those sort of like, they needed to just lean into that a lot more. And I agree. Almost every movie I see these days, I'm like, that could have been shorter. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 50 minutes. Here's a movie I was like, if you really want to go down there and flesh out all that stuff, you need to make this movie at least 20, 30 minutes longer.
Yes, I agree. And I mean, again, it's trying to say so much, and I don't think it ever fully realizes any of those themes as much as it could, which is kind of weirdly the same problem as the first one, which obviously I still enjoy more. I don't think there's nothing in here that I will remember like the city of Chicago with like a swarm of bees flying over it. There's nothing in here quite that memorable. But it is very admirable, but you're right. It almost seems like, okay, in this section of the movie, now we're talking about police brutality.
Right.
And that, that's... Yeah,
checking our boxes.
Checking off. And it's kind of cool, but then it's sort of just discarded for something else.
Yeah. I want to mention some of the creative team, and yes, I wrote their names down there. So Tanoya Paris, I think, is the main actress in it, plays his girlfriend. Anthony is the main character. He plays a struggling artist. She is sort of the more established, successful art curator who's sort of bringing him along. And really kind of the end, I mean, almost by the midpoint of the movie, his character has just sort of receded into this fog of madness, and she becomes the main character, which... to me, it's almost like you should have done that from the start. Make her the main character.
Because
that's a good point.
I think her story might be more interesting.
Yeah.
Because did we ever find out about her father?
Yeah.
No, and I think the problem with... there was really a sense of tragedy to the first one. And with this character, I think we have such a small grasp of who he even is in the first place, the struggling artist, Yaya I'm talking about, that when he pretty much immediately begins like his descent, it's never boring to watch, but there's also no emotional thrust to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to mention the director, Nia DaCosta. This is her second film. She made a little movie called Little Woods, which I have not seen. Her next movie is going to be Captain Marvel 2. So
of course.
She's obviously been tapped for some much bigger things, doing this Candyman reboot sequel for Jordan Peele. Did we mention this Jordan Peele movie? He executive produced and co-wrote, did not direct this one. I was a huge fan of Us. I thought it was much better than his first film.
Interesting.
And so I was really looking forward to this, even though I know he wasn't directing. So I was a little disappointed. It didn't kind of seem to have his flair and feel for character. That, to me, was his first two movies, was he really had a feel for character. You really felt like you got into the bones of those people and understood them a little bit before we unleashed the mayhem and the bloodletting. And here, I don't feel like I got to know Anthony. How about you?
No, like I mentioned earlier, or off camera, with Jordan Peele, you're getting comedy, horror, and social commentary. But so they did that in spades in this movie. But yes, there's much more to unpeel with these characters, and in 90 minutes, you're not going to get it. Like I said, I think Anthony's character, the main character, he starts out, you want to get to know him, but he kind of fades away, and his girlfriend becomes the more interesting character.
Yeah.
And you kind of
really
want more time with her. But yes, like you said, there really isn't anybody of substance.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always said about when it comes to your main character. You can love them, you can even hate them, but the worst thing is the kiss of death is they can't be your protagonist cannot be the least interesting person on screen at any given time.
Yes. Now he is like a striking
physical.
Yes, I mean he has a really striking presence. I don't blame the actor for the kind of lack of interest. I mean, he really does the best he can with what he's given. It's just, I think when you were talking about Jordan Peele's films, how I think that social commentary and horror, for the most part, really weave together so seamlessly. And here, those elements are all there, but you can absolutely see the seams. Like you can, and it feels like it's been passed around by a few people, which I wouldn't be surprised to learn if the script had been sort of reworked.
I think it had three screenwriting credits, including Jordan Peele.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot made of his character's physical decay in the movie. He starts out as this very vibrant, powerful young man. Of course, I have to put in my thing about, we all know about our struggling artists who, with the six-pack abs, and look like they've been in the gym and on a keto diet for the last year, because they're all like that. It's just part of the Hollywood deal.
Yeah, he's leading man material though. He's a good-looking guy, so.
Yeah, I really wish they could have written his character a bit better. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. We appreciate it. So that's our Insta review of Candyman. We appreciate you guys for watching. We maybe don't appreciate the security guard who booted us, but hey, maybe he's just doing his job.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next time, and thanks a lot.